Okay, we're going to talk about the do while loop now. So if we take a look at our code right here, notice that I've imported the util package from Java. We're going to use our scanner down here to show you how a sentinel value allows you to escape the loop. This is going to be kind of beneficial for you when you're trying to do that program where you're doing the random number generator and you're allowing them to guess 7 times or more to pick the number. There will be pay attention to this one and that'll help you out. So the big difference between the do while and the while loop is that it runs through the code at least one time before it checks the condition. So in this case, if we run the code, you'll notice that everything works. In this first loop, it'll go 0, 1, 2 because we start at 0. It prints out x and then it checks to see if x is less than the value. Same thing with all these other ones here, and then I'll explain these later. But now, watch just to show you how that works. Let's change x to 5. So let's run the code now, and what do you think is going to print out for this first line? So I'll give you 3 seconds. 1, 2, 3. All right, so we run it, and the answer is 5. It prints out 5, and the reason for that, as I told you before, it runs through the code, and then it checks the condition. So x equals 5. It'll just go ahead and do whatever's in the code, and it prints out x, which is 5. It adds 1 to x. X is now 6. And then while x is less than 3, go back and do it. Well, guess what? We're at 6 right now, and it's not. So it kind of goes in its merry way and prints out the other loops. So let's go ahead and stop that and get that equal to 0 one more time. All right, now notice over here, let's see, we get out here, we print our line, same thing happens. This is just the same thing as I did for the other root loops, showing you how to decrement it. Same thing. This isn't, if you've watched the other videos, you'll see it's the same thing, decrementing. It just goes through the line of code first. Now in this loop, this is where I do the nested do while loops. And again, remember, the do while loop is not on the AP test. This is just a quick showing to show you how it works. It'll make things a little bit easier for you if we do programs where you have to have a sentinel value that checks to see if something equals something, if not, exit the loop, and that's where all this code is. So this is just a nested do while loop. Same thing as a while loop, except it runs through the code before it checks the condition. So I create a variable int a, have it equal to 0, do int, and then I create my variable for the inner loop, b, and then I print out a and b. I add 1 to b, check to see if b is less than 2, and then check to see if a, or add 1 to a, check to see if a is less than 2, and it goes through all the inner loop first, and then it shoots out to the outer loop, does all the outer loop, back to the inner loop, does the inner loop all the way through, goes back to the outer loop and checks it again. So starts outer loop, goes to inner loop, completes the inner loop, goes to the outer loop, sees if outer loop is complete, if not, goes back and starts another iteration of the outer loop, which then goes into the inner loop and it does a brand new version of the inner loop. Okay, so let's take a look at the sentinel value to escape a loop here. In this case, okay, there's my scanner. You all know how to do that. I create a variable int d, and now what I'm doing is I create my do while loop. In my do while loop, I ask them to enter a number from 1 to 20, and all I'm going to do is show them their number squared. And then if they press exit, they will leave the do while loop. And so to do that, I create a condition while d is not equal to 0. And once you type in 0 and it checks that, it will exit the loop for you. Also here, I have an if statement. Why I put this here is that I don't want you, when you enter 0, to say, here's your number squared, 0 to the power of 2 equals 0. There's no point in that. So all I'm doing here is it won't print something out if you press 0. Because remember, you run through the line of code every time that you run through the line of code at least once before you check the condition. So at that case, let's go ahead and run it. You'll see that everything's fine there. This all works just like the other for and while loop. Now let's go ahead and enter some stuff here. I'll start with 7, 8, 9. So you know it looks good, everything works. Now you press 0, you're done with the program, you're finished. You should have noticed up here that red, the terminate is done and you're done with the program. And so that's how the sentinel value works for that. So just let me know if you have questions. Thanks.